Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dinner time is here. That's right, we're talking about Season 3, Episode 3 of Hannibal on Dish by Dish. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from the sunny shores of Lithuania. I don't think they have shores there, but I could be wrong. This is Dish by Dish. It's a Hannibal Rewatch project of the Kill by Kill podcast. That's what a podcast is. I struggled to figure that out, but luckily, in the nick of time, I rescued it. We're going to talk about an episode of Hannibal. And of course, there's only one person I trust, that if I have to lock a prisoner away who ate my sister, she'll make sure he at least gets some nice pheasant and a glass of wine. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
I would do that for you. Thank Patrick.
Of course, I would kind of goof you into it just to see if you do it. It seems to now be the summation of Hannibal's trickery is he's like, I'm going to put you in a weird sitch, and then I'm going to see maybe you'll kill your way out of it. And he just seems to find that endlessly fascinating.
And almost everybody does.
He's always right. And yet what is he testing for? What is this raptor-like testing of the fences that he's doing around this scientific question that he is banding about all these years? Like when people find themselves in desperate situations, I don't know, choked out by a guy you've inherited as a prisoner, you might put a bone in his neck.
Well, it's just, one thing about this show is it does not say much for human nature. It is bleak. It is
bleak as hell. We should note that this episode is titled Secondo. Secondo is a second course during which Italians might eat different kinds of meat, proteins, mainly for your fish, your pork, your chicken, veal, lamb, wild boar, even your rabbit. And so this is a main protein meal. And I suppose because Hannibal, the series, has never really been huge on origin stories, with the exception of like new serial killers, but we don't really go way, way back on Hannibal. We don't go way, way back on Will. We're very in media res with them. This is the first time I can think of that it really digs into the backstory of our main cast.
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to know more about young Hannibal's life, you could watch the movie Hannibal Rising. I've never seen it. From what I understand, it is, to quote the writer Nathan Raven, quite poor.
I too dug into the critical files of one Hannibal Rising, of course, based on the book by Thomas Harris, directed by Peter Weber. And I found one quote here from Maxim film critic Pete Heyman. I believe Pete has gone on to different things, but at the time he was at Maxim, quote, the most terrifying movie of the new year. Mm-hmm. And that is why everyone respects the film desk at Maxim magazine.
What's the new year? Did this come out January 4th?
I don't know. It did come out very early in the year.
As only the best movies do.
Yes. David Edelson, who now writes for Vulture. I think he was at a New York paper at the time. Not that Vulture isn't. Hannibal Rising is basically a Steven Seagal vigilante movie where the hero eats the people he kills.
Well, that's an efficient way of doing it.
It really is. The thing is, Steven Seagal now looks like he's eaten every person he's fictionally killed.
I mean, if you really, if you really want us to watch it, I mean, you could pony up the dough for our Patreon and
absolutely.
See if you win our you pick the movie drawing.
Yeah. This episode starts with Will kind of convening with Hannibal inside his own mind palace, and this prompted a question inside of me that I wanted to ask you. When you have fictional conversations with me in your mind palace, where are we sitting?
I really like your backyard from what I've seen of it. So, like, I'm kind of generating what your backyard looks like.
Sure.
So we're just going to chill in there.
By the movie screen, our grass circle.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is rather nice, especially in this era of COVID where you did not want to be inside. We still had the ability to show movies. We even projected a few Marvel TV series up there when we got desperate for entertainment once upon a time. It's a nice little spot. It's like technically, just for those who don't know, and most of you don't, it's basically our front side yard. Because these houses, the Cliff May house that I live in, he made sure that the city would zone it so you could wall off your property because he wanted you to live outside as much as you live inside. So I can go outside in the morning, stark ass naked, if I want to.
Why don't you?
I do on occasion, just to feel the breeze on the nethers, you know.
Just to feel alive.
Yeah, the house is also all glass. Like there's more windows than walls. So you also don't want everyone seeing you, even inside your own house, how you are dressing at any given time. So it fulfills a lot of pieces. But guess what, everybody? The backyard's getting done. It's going to plans right now, baby. Yeah. Once this home is finished, we will be unstoppable and underwater. No, that's actually not true. We're very lucky. So Will, in this particular episode, now that he's seen a heart in a church, what a great place to start, decides to head off to sunny Lithuania to Castle Lecter to see if Hannibal has decided he can go home again. What were your first impressions of Castle Lecter?
I mean, if you had asked me, what would Hannibal Lecter's childhood home look like?
Right.
It would look a lot like this. I mean, they should show the occasional, like, faraway shot and, have, like, bolt of lightning and
a werewolf howl in the background.
Yeah.
Yes. To me, it almost came off to the point where I want to see cartoon bats spill out of the top window, like at the beginning of Scooby-Doo. Where are you? Hannibal is not subtle. I'm not coming to this for realism. We've said it once. We'll say it again. Like, this is all very much a show. But Will arrives on the scene. He's like, it's locked up. I'm just going to hoist my own petard over that very imposing and pointy fence and get to the other side. It's like, he doesn't have any authority here. He's just a dude as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I think Will just kind of gave up any sort of pretense of obeying the law in any measurable fashion.
Yeah, he just does a hop to over it and immediately starts prowling the grounds. Meanwhile, Hannibal is back at his very stylish Florence apartment, and he is wearing the most ridiculous fucking suit not worn by a 66 Batman villain I have ever seen in my life. It is black, white, and a bit of beige, and it looks like a black and white TV's test pattern. It's wild. I mean, he looks great in it, but I would look fucking ridiculous.
It's a little louder than he generally wears.
I think that goes along with his state of mind, right? Because Hannibal is now becoming increasingly louder than he should be as a cannibal on the run from the law.
That's true. He's going to draw attention to himself in one way or another.
Yeah. He invites that beardo from his now educational post there in Florence. And, this guy is like, all right, so you passed my little test. You're feeding me your little meal. Here's a little cocktail they made on the Titanic. We have a tete-a-tete, I guess, but deep down, I still kind of hate you. And then Hannibal's like, here's cave-aged forearm. I hope you enjoy that.
Well, the funny thing about this season is, for whatever reason, maybe because he's not doing quite as good a job of hiding the fact that he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason in Florence, everybody's just super passive aggressive and shitty and snotty to him.
Yeah.
which and I know the whole concept of the movie is, the TV show, he only eats rude people.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking of our good buddy Franklin from 2 seasons ago.
Sure.
Where his rudeness is that he was too needy.
Right.
That he was too monopolizing of Hannibal's time, that he desperately wanted Hannibal to like him.
Mm-hmm.
And now he is the one trying to, not necessarily for his own ego, but just to, maintain a low profile, trying to get these people's approval. Yeah. And they're just like, no, you're not one of us. We don't know why you smell like a rat, but you smell like a rat.
I don't even know if they're waiting to smell. It kind of comes across as it doesn't matter who's in that position. They would still be in the white hot spotlight. But it's even worse that the person who is in charge of this division is not Italian. So everyone's kind of like, I don't know. And no one has the internet and can look up this guy's real name or face. And so he just is trying to skate along here, but the pretenses are very thin because this guy gets like 2 pieces of forearm in his mouth and Hannibal just launches an ice pick into his temple.
Oh, can I tell you that after all the gore and all the really, Baroque tableaus of like the various murder scenes, this actually, I think, bothers me more than any other kill in the entire series because it feels realistic.
Sure. Yes. It also doesn't help that there's that aftermath where the guy is like, oh, I can't see.
Well, he's still talking.
Yeah.
Because the funny thing is like a brain injury doesn't always kill you right away.
Right. Yeah.
And I think of how one of the most terrifying kills to me in any movie is in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, mm-hmm. when he just comes out and just beans that guy in the head with the mallet, mm-hmm. and he falls down and starts having a seizure. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, somebody did their research and figured out what would happen to someone if you just got bonked on the head. Because it really annoys me in movies, especially I have friends who work in research for head injuries and the long-term effects of them and all, and it's annoying in movies when someone gets hit on the head to the point of being knocked out, and then like a minute later they're fine. You're not fine. You have a major head injury, and this where he gets him just in the right spot where he's probably gonna die eventually. Mm-hmm. But it is very, dragged out. The guy seems like he might be kind of aware of what's happening to him, but not entirely.
Right.
And it is much more unsettling to me than the somewhat similar death of Paul Krendler in Hannibal the movie.
Yeah.
Where they just like lift the top of his head off like a serving platter and just eat from his brain. He's just like, I'm like, I don't think he'd be alive for that.
Well, he gives him a Vulcan nerve pinch, and that seems to help. And somehow disconnects his bottom half of his body from his head somehow, and that's a big part of it. And then he's like cooking up the sections of the brain that he won't miss immediately, he's like, taking small sections.
And he's like, oh, that smells good. And it's like, oh my God, come on. but here he's essentially giving the guy a lobotomy.
Right. Yes. The constant head injury thing does remind me of when we went to Europe with Ollie, and he became entranced with Tintin as a character. Tintin, a boy detective who is helped by a drunk sea captain and his dog Snowy. Snowy was Oliver's way in, and he is constantly being bopped on the head with the butt of a gun and transported from hither to thither. And at a certain point, you're kind of wondering, like, this guy probably wouldn't remember his own name, nevertheless, Snowy's by the end.
Yeah, I mean, he's at minimum punch drunk at this point.
I have a question for you, because after this guy passes out in a bowl of his own blood and some olives, I'm looking at this and I think we're two people who, we're preparing meals for ourselves, our families. You're sitting around a table. What is the cleanup situation at this dinner table? Because when you bleed that fucking much all over the place, like, does he have a shop vac? Does he throw the rug underneath that in the washer? Like, what is happening there?
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a tablecloth would be too gauche, but right. I mean, but that would obviously be the best solution here, because you just gather everything up in the tablecloth like you do at Thanksgiving dinner. Right. I mean, but he probably has like these very like high end cleaning aids too. Like, he's not just gonna have like a bunch of chamois in his cleaning closet.
Yeah,
I mean, he can definitely afford to just roll up a carpet and throw it out and get a new carpet.
I guess so, but what kind of he's a fugitive on the run, and he's got that much extra dead corpse carpet money stashed away for all this.
Well, we never really went into Hannibal's seemingly bottomless income.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he only seems to have 3 patients. Now he has none patients.
But he is saving a lot on food costs.
That's true. And
he works from home.
I mean, he does. So. What he saves in food, he does spend on high end ingredients and spices. But yeah, generally speaking.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bedelia is going out every day, getting 2 bottles of wine and sucking down oysters like it's going out of style.
Yeah, I guess that's her coping. Some of us, get McDonald's. She gets oysters and wine.
Sure. But Hannibal seems to be actively torpedoing his own ship, because you can't keep killing people at the same job and eventually not someone go, I don't know, the last place I heard they were going to was this guy, and pointing directly at him. Yeah,
the circle that he is choosing from is very small.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would think if he had the urge to kill, that he would go find a hobo or something. Like, perhaps an errant sex worker, not his colleagues from a very exclusive elite circle of academics.
But I think, but at this point, he's wearing the loud suits. He's killing the people who would be traced back to him. He's taken over the identity of someone whose, face is on the back of book jackets and shit. Like, this is tenuous at best.
Well,
he's
trying to draw Will back.
Yeah. And it's not the only sort of fly that his honey is attracting, because Jack Crawford has landed in Italy. And
he's still alive. Still alive.
Got a hell of a scar on his neck. And he has a sit down with Inspector Rinaldo Pazzi, the great whisperer of the season of Hannibal.
You always have to have a dramatic whisperer.
Yes. And, Pazzi's like, You and I, we get together. We get matching jackets with the lightning bolts on the back of them. And we find El Mostro. And everyone has a big party. And they say, hey, Crawford and the posse, you're the best. And this is his pitch. This is not a stereotype that, of course, I am exploiting for comedic purposes, but also harming a community that has done nothing to me. And Jack's like, yeah, I'm not here to find Hannibal Lecter.
It's like, I'm done with that shit.
it's a YP, not an MP. I'm off the clock and may not have a job. None of us have jobs anymore after our handling of Hannibal Lecter. So if you're after El Mostro, you're going to have to do it yourself. And then you cut over to beautiful Lithuania, and Will has started a fire in someone else's yard. Don't do that.
No.
If you're trying to stay on the down low, don't start a fire on someone else's property.
Is he trying to stay on the down low though, or is he doing the same thing that Hannibal's doing? Is like, come and get me. No, you come and get me. No, you come and get me. No, but you come and get me.
Yeah, that is entirely possible.
They're basically, doing the equivalent of sending each other, romantic mixtapes. And like daring each other, like which one of us is going to show up at the other one's doorstep holding a boombox over our head first. Right.
Yes. I made this for you, scrawled on it. Don't worry, be happy. This episode features so many fireflies that I found myself whistling the Owl City song "Fireflies," which I'm not a fan of. And Will spies Chio, the kind of girl who will hunt for fowl in the morning and keep a dude prisoner in her very weird basement at night. And it turns out that she has been put on some sort of assignment by Hannibal, because that guy in the cage, according to her, killed and ate Misha in front of Hannibal. And dum, that's the origin story he told her.
Yeah, this is the point of the show where if you are expecting things to make sense, it's a mug's game. Don't bother. Because you have to assume that Hannibal is probably lying about a lot of this. Now, in the books, I believe that the story about his sister being eaten by cannibals is actually supposed to have been true, and that that's sort of because that the time frame of when the books take place, this would have been World War II. Right. Here, the timelines don't really make much sense. Did you ever mention how long she's been kind of watching over this? Like,
not yet. Maybe it happens down. I'm the fuzziest when it comes to season 3.
She's pretty young, or looks pretty young.
She does. Yes.
It's hard to tell how old this supposed cannibal is, because he kind of looks like that crazy old cave hermit from Life of Brian.
It's
exactly is it possible? So he could be Hannibal's about, I don't know, late 40s. So I don't know how old, how long ago this was supposed to have happened with his sister getting kidnapped and ate by cannibals. None of the timelines really match up. No, but I think it's just sort of I think that's purposely to sort of disquiet the audience and not really and just create the overall sense that you're just being fucked with and gaslit a little bit.
Right. Yes. And I mean, that is, we mentioned it at the top, like that was Hannibal's big thing was, I'm going to put you in this very tenuous situation where you're in danger. You're not entirely have control of all of your faculties. I'm going to quote unquote psychically drive you towards an endpoint, and I want to see what you do in that moment. And weirdly enough, Will being quite a student actually puts Chio in that exact same situation.
Yeah, I mean, he's given up any pretense of being, the good guy in this situation. He's just the guy now.
Yeah.
The sort of, gray area guy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Hannibal has yet another dinner party where he feeds people livers, and he loves an audience. Like, it's come to the point where the smile on his face while he watches people eat human beings it's so joyous. Like, this is what brings him unbridled happiness.
When you were, let me ask you something. When Ollie was little, did you ever have to sneak vegetables into his food?
Not as much. He was pretty good about eating vegetables early on. He did not like chewing, however. And I found myself for years afterwards miming chewing while he ate and hoping that he would mirror my mastication.
I thought you were going to say chewed his food, spit into his mouth like a baby bird.
Yeah, I mean, that was my next step. But luckily, he was able to figure it out by looking at me chewing. He's like, "Oh, that's what I do." And yeah,
when my daughter was little, she didn't like eating like freshly cooked food. It had to be like lukewarm at best.
Oh, geez.
So we would like literally just put the plate in the refrigerator until it got to like a reasonable temperature for her tiny palate. Because I was thinking like, when they have all those. I think like Jerry Seinfeld's wife made a whole career of writing these cookbooks about cooking food that you can like sneak vegetables into your kids' food. I mean, I'm not a fan of sneaking food into anything.
You should know what's up,
right? But there's just that kind of pleasure. It's like, aha, I got you to eat that broccoli. Aha, I got you to eat the human livers.
He's so happy though, and as he denotes, like, this is the unconventional reinforcement of his ego. It's weird how much is on the table at this point for a guy who's supposed to be in hiding. And then he washes Bedelia's hair. Who could fucking blame him? He's crazy for this one, Rick. This is the fact that she barely lives out of this. And he was he gonna just hide in the shadows and see what happened? What was that Will's plan? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll do something. Maybe I won't.
Yeah, this whole sequence, I have to admit, I don't really understand it. Upon second viewing, I just still, it's not much clearer to me. Like what is happening here? What how long she's been there? Why she felt she could never leave? I'm not. I don't really. This is. It's all dream logic to me at this point. That I'm not expecting an explanation that makes sense.
Right. And of course, as she survives, she reads Will for filth because he's fucking acting like an asshole. But she's also like, "So I'll go with you to try to hunt him down." Like, why? There's something happening here. I know that's weird for a serialized drama. There might be more breadcrumbs to an actual answer down the line, but call me wackadoo, but I think this might be in that direction. But of course, Will's not done yet because he has to bust a couple bottles, break out the twine, and, because he's a maker, he fashions this dead guy into a big, beautiful butterfly.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I mean, I'm a pretty crafty person, but to be able to come up with all that just off the top of your head, whatever you have around you.
Yeah. No, he's quite the artist. Maybe he just never had the medium before, and he's finally at a place he can do that. But that should get you locked up. I'll be honest with you. That's like, hey, what happens in Lithuania stays in Lithuania. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, his bean is broken at this point. There's just no return.
That pretty much does it. But of course, we can't say goodbye without saying hello to Choose Your Own Deathventure. And that's where we decide, of the deaths portrayed in this particular episode, which one would you choose and why? Forbid we have stabbed in the temple with an ice pick, or you could be stabbed in the neck with a bone and have your blood go splurt, splurt, splurt out the side. What say you?
Yeah, definitely bone in the neck. I do not want to be lobotomized.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be
is like A, he doesn't feel it, and B, once it's out, he's night. Goodbye.
That's true. Yeah, it doesn't look like he's in any pain. He just seems kind of confused and almost like he's drunk. Like he's just sort of like giggling and lapsing into Italian and all. So maybe that would be all right. I just wanted to say one thing real quick. That one thing I thought was interesting about Bedelia, she keeps returning to the subject of Hannibal's sister, and I think that is she's taunting him a little bit with it, which I think is funny. It's like she's kind of poking the bear a little bit, which I think is an interesting approach, and she seems kind of vaguely turned on by it, which is like I guess, she's like, what does your sister taste like? it's like
I mean, everyone's teetering.
Why is everybody on this show so weird?
Why do you have to be so weird? Well, why can't you just be normal? We may never know. That just about does it. Josh Hollis does all of our artwork and such great artwork. In fact, we have a new t-shirt up now, a Tobe Hooper film, a tribute to the great Tobe Hooper. All proceeds that we would get from that t-shirt will be going directly to the Victims Fund of the tragedy that happened in Texas and those terrible events that happened down there. So if you feel you want to do something about that, this is the way we've decided we're going to help. So you go to tpublic.com and look up Kill by Kill, and you'll find us right away. And then, of course, our music is done by Revenge Body. Go to bandcamp.revengebody and look up all of the remixes and our main theme of the show, including the ones you hear on this episode. Next week, we will be back with an all-new episode. We'll be talking about Predator. That's right. 1987's, or is it 88? I fucking know. I believe it's 87. Predator. A movie that is essentially a well-muscled slasher flick that even starred one Jean-Claude Van Damme for a hot second before he and the monster he portrayed disappeared and were replaced by a big walking muscled crab man. And it's going to be, we got a great guest. It's going to be a fun time. I can't wait for you to listen to it. Rate and review us on iTunes or any podcatcher that you have. Please, it's how people see and hear more from us. If you could do us that favor, we'd greatly appreciate it. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about movies and television at thespool.net, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Until next time, the body count continues for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.